is Tamara, and I'd like to thank you all for joining us to learn about R2i and how our offerings can help you decrease your IT costs, increase your system availability, and support your IT team with highly experienced IBM resources. On the call, we also have Kim from R2i, and she'll be the moderator. And if you have any questions or problems during the presentation, please type them in the Q&A section on the left-hand side of your screen. I also encourage you to ask questions during the presentation using that same Q&A. At the end of the conference, we encourage you to raise your hand and you'll be unmuted so that you can ask questions directly. So Benoit, you can start.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Tamara. So good morning, everyone. So let's start. Oh, sorry, I'm not. So let's start with the presentation. So first, we'll go through the agenda. So we'll talk first about R2i, and then we'll talk specifically about IBM into the R2i cloud. Then we will talk about the service à la carte, and Tamara, we'll discuss some client studies. And at the end, as Tamara said, do not hesitate to ask some question. Yes, raise your hand or use the Q&A tab to ask or to write your question. So so thank you. Next, so the presenter today, my name is Benoit Martel. I'm president of R2i. So we first started the company in 2014, and the speaker that joined me today for this call, for this webinar, are the founders of R2i. So they both start in 2014 with me. So we have Tamara van der Sluis. She's a VP of Innovation, but with a huge background of IBM. She worked for IBM for 29 years, specialized on IBM and Power Systems, very well recognized worldwide, very close to IBM Rochester, IBM Lab in Rochester. So very good resources, specialized in performance analysis. And we will have also Frédéric Marcil that will join us during the presentation. He will cover the technical aspect of all the offering that we have on IBM cloud and all services around it. So let's start now. So for the people that doesn't know, R2i stands for Resources, Infrastructure, and Integration. So 2 times I for infrastructure and integration. Resources is the people at R2i, the technical person, the specialist that you work with. Infrastructure is mainly the RSL, and we are one of the top IBM business partner in Canada. So it's mainly IBM Power and IBM Storage. And integration stands for we integrate customer in our cloud and into our managed services. So that stands for R2i. So the resources, we have an average of 25 years of experience in IT per people. So very large experience, mainly in the IBM Power area. We have over 12 persons dedicated to that platform. We work with multinational and large and medium-sized company. We manage both short-term and long-term project, and we have expertise with the latest state-of-the-art technology. It's really a plus working with R2i. We are really on the edge for that. And from storage to infrastructure, cloud computing, and then IT managed services, we have the solution for your needs. So switch to infrastructure. So as I said, there's the server side. So we are mainly an IBM Power partner, very, very strong on the Power platform. We're well renowned on that. Even on IBM I and AIX, and we cover also x86 platform and mainly with Lenovo and Cisco UCS. On the storage side, it's IBM Storage, the storage family, and the flash system family. We do have also a virtual tape library, and we support data domain, DSI, Protectier. We do tape drive and library, and also on the software side of the storage, mainly for the backup, it's we work with BRMS, which most of you are familiar with on the IBM side, and TSM, named today Spectrum Protect from IBM, and Veeam for the virtualized environment. On HADR, we can work with IBM Power HA. We have many customers using that technology. We are a leader in North America for Power HA implementation. We support customers across Canada and the US. So very strong knowledge on this technology. And for the one that are familiar also with LPM, live partition mobility, we are very strong at that, using to move some workload from one machine to the other, specifically on the Power platform, so IBM I and AIX. And software and hardware replication, we offer both solution, and Frédéric will cover more in detail that specific area. On the network side, we work very closely with Cisco and Brocade, who are the major player in that area on the market. For the one that are familiar, we are very strong with VIOS, everything that virtualization on the Power system with Power VM. And we also do virtualization using VMware, and we do a lot of security on IBM I, and I think Frédéric will cover that portion too. So we have a specific offering on security on the managed services side. About integration, if you think about something, you think, is it possible? So I would say to you, yes, it is possible. There's nothing we were unable to achieve when a customer requests something in the cloud or in the managed services. So we do the system and backup management, installation and migration, operating system update and patches. We do a lot during a year. We do monitoring and alert management. You will see over the presentation that we have a 24/7 call center, what we call a NOC, Network Operation Center, with people physically on site at our office, so it's not offshoring. We do the IT incident management for you if needed, preventive maintenance, which is a good addition when you ask for this service in managed services, so you try to avoid having problem in the future. And we can do HA or RDI testing, because some customer never test their HA or RDR, so we can do it for you and build a plan for in case of disaster recovery. If you think about cloud computing, you can think it's not only production. It could be HA for development, disaster recovery, backup, testing, everything you can think of. There's probably a solution for you on the cloud. A little bit about R2i. So we have over 45 active IBM certification, mainly on power system and storage, and also some on specific software. For example, Spectrum Protect, WebSphere MQ, so a few software from IBM. We are now at 30 employees. We have offices in Anjou and Montreal downtown, Quebec City, Ottawa, and Toronto soon. So we plan to have an office open in Toronto in the next few months. So it's a project on the way. We have a 24/7 network operation center with bilingual people, so French and English, physically located in our office. So, and we have a customer in Canada and the United States. We cover, for example, Canadian customer that have facilities worldwide. So they are located in Caribbean, South America, Europe. So, but mainly we cover Canada and the US. One important thing to know about R2i is our ISO certification. We are very proud to have them. We started that process 2 years ago. It's really related to security in the world, in today's world, with security concern for every company. Those two certification brings a lot in confidence for our customers. So 27001 is based on security, integrity, and availability, and 27018 is on the personal private information. So very, very proud of that. And we are on the way for the next year to get that third one certification specifically on the cloud. R2i has completed over 500 projects over the last 6 years with over 100 customers across Canada and also the United States. We are very proud of our expertise. So we were the first IBM Platinum business partner in Quebec and the third one in Canada when IBM released its new program in 2018. We were very proud of that because at that time we were a young IBM business partner with a very only few years history, and we surpassed all the IBM partner across Canada. In terms of revenue, certification, achievement, stuff like that. So we're very proud of that. Last year, we were named North American Partner of the Year in IBM Power Systems. So at the TING conference last year in February 2019, IBM named R2i as the Partner of the Year, and not only in Canada, but in North America. We partner with Lenovo and Red Hat, also with NVIDIA, and specifically with IBM, we are an IBM AI Pursuit Partner, which is a status related to everything that is artificial intelligence, mainly on the infrastructure side. We're the only one in Canada. It's a worldwide program, and we were the partner that was chosen for Canada. And again, we are R2 certified 2701 and 2718. Our awards and honors, we're very proud of that also. We were in 2018 and 2019 in the top fastest growing company across Canada for startups, for a company that is less than 5 years old. Last year also, in 2019, we were one of the top growing company across all industry, across all size, across all age of companies. So very proud of that. We were within the top 40 fastest growers company. We won a Mercuriade in Quebec for Startup of the Year. And also, as mentioned previously, we were named R2i IBM Business Partner of the Year in North America. And also in the CIO magazine, we were named one of the top 25 IBM Solution Provider 2019. So the 5 pillar of R2i. So let's start with the first 3, which is part of our original DNA with R2i, resources, infrastructure, integration. So those 3 were the first that we work and we provide the solution to customers. So IT infrastructure, IT managed services, and cloud computing. And more recently, in the last 2-3 years, we had to our offering Industry 4.0 solution and partnership with a lot of partner. We create a real ecosystem, and we work a lot also on artificial intelligence, mainly on the infrastructure side. And we partner with a lot of other companies for everything that is development or particularly to a specific industry. So an unmatched IBM cloud offering. So we will go more in detail in our cloud offering for IBM. So this is a high-level view of our infrastructure. So we are in 2 data center. Those 2 data centers are highly certified. So SOC 2 Type 2, which is the one of the highest certification in the data center area. So it's really about security, availability, and all the infrastructure or the design of the data center. So as you can see, the center of this offering is really the IBM Power offering, which is one of a unique offering on the market. So we support IBM I, AIX, and Linux on Power. Also, for example, SAP and a customer that runs on Linux on Power. We also have a Power machine with a GPU inside. So it's for a massive workload that requires a GPU. We do also have a x86 offering in our cloud, so to complement Power cloud offering. So we offer x86, Windows, and Linux VM. So and most of the customer that have Power system need to have some Windows or Linux VM very close to the database that is DB2 on IBM I. So it's a real possibility for customer that want to host Power system to host also x86 VM to complement that offering. The backup is done on virtual tape library, so there's no tape backup manipulation or physical manipulation. So it's really to have a backup on disk. So it's an easier way to manage backup if you need to do restore. And Frédéric will cover that point later on the presentation. We also have LTO tape drive, which is in addition to the virtual tape library but we don't do the daily backup on the LTO. It's only for a rare occasion, for example, on the initial restore, or you need a physical copy for the annual backup, some stuff like that. So we can offer that option. Everything is on all-flash storage, so very high-end enterprise disk storage. Everything is enterprise quality, I would say. It's IBM, it's Cisco, Brocade, EMC for the data domain for the virtual type library. So everything is enterprise class hardware. There's two sides, so it's for have a full redundant availability for everything. We have no single point of failure. Everything is in multi-path or multi-connection. For example, we have a dark fiber, a real dark fiber between the two sides. We are one of the very, very few and maybe unique provider that have this kind of solution with two dark fiber. The advantage is the telco is the latency on the network. It's very, very low and it's optimal and very productive. So a different entry into the building and stuff like that. We'll cover a little bit more the data center later on. So very highly redundant, highly secure, highly available offering for those data center. Let's move on the data center specifically. So our first site is a Tier 3 and SOC 2 Type 2 certified. Everything is in N plus something or 2N depending on the requirements of a SOC 2 Type 2 and Tier 3 design. So very highly secure building. 24/7 video surveillance, biometric facial recognition, stuff like that. Very limited access to this data center. The second site that we have right now is another site, very secure, also with all the N+1 or 2N, and everything is in a full redundancy, so very, very highly secure. This building is one of the most secure in Montreal area, with, how can I say, very fast refuel in case of a real large regional disaster. This building will be fully operational very, very quickly. So to conclude my portion, the benefit of the cloud computing and managed services. So the cost, it's an OPEX compares to CAPEX. So if your financial strategy is OPEX, so you can leverage cloud and managed services with OPEX. It's a proactive solution because we do monitoring and alert in real time with our 24/7 NOC operations. We can plan the growth for you. So we have tools to do the growth planning. The setup can be very, very fast. For example, if you are a VPN customer, we can move it probably within a week in our cloud, very, very fast. We have the expertise and the skills, and we migrate tens of customers, so we know exactly the recipe to have a successful implementation. Also, you have access to diverse expert skills. Like I said, only on a Power System, we have 12% dedicated to that platform. So you have a broad range of expertise in that. And we have more people, for example, on the other expertise, Linux and Windows and storage. We improve availability, like I explained before in the charts, very highly secure data center and combined with ISO certification. So now let's start with the second section, second part of the presentation. So my colleague Frédéric and Marcel will take the lead as of now for the next portion. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Benoit. Hi, I'm Frédéric. I'm the director of the technical team at R2i. Today, I want to talk to you in details about our cloud offering, solutions and services, and which I'm really, really proud of what we built in the past years. So first of all, let's talk about the infrastructure, and the focus today is on the IBM i platform. Our cloud offering is infrastructure as a service, meaning that you won't have to worry about managing everything related to the hardware. We take care of it. We already have a planned schedule internally to update all firmware to recommended versions. So it's on regular basis. So we make sure that we have a really stable infrastructure behind your application. We offer SLAs of 99.99. So it's really stable, and we make sure that we're always running on the recommended patch on everything. Um, so what can we offer for the IBMI environment? So we can have both systems, so prod and HA, using Metro replication in our cloud. Metro mirror replication, it's the best solution available on the market for sure. So I will talk more about it later in the presentation. We can also have hybrid cloud, so you can have your production system on premise and have only HA in the cloud, or you can have prod in our cloud and HA on prem. We can also have dev, QA, test machine. So anything that you want to have in the cloud, we can have it, no problem. We can also reserve resource for you in the cloud, just in case you need them for disaster recovery. So we can have CPU memory, your LPAR could be created in advance. So in case you have really a disaster recovery, we can act really fast and have this your environment ready for you and available for the business. We can also do proof of concept for a short period of time. So if you want to test operating system upgrade and you don't have the resource CPU memory disk available on-prem and you want just to test the upgrade, the impact on the your application, yes, we can do that for you. We can have for a month, 2 months, we can have an environment available for you so you can do testing. Also, you want to test a new version of ERP, you want to test some specific operation, we can have that for you available in the cloud. The supported operating system version, so we have a lot of power servers in our cloud. We can support IBMI V6R1 and up. V6R1, it's now completely out of support by IBM, but we can have an environment for you if you need it, no problem. Also, we can have, just for your information, AIX 5.3 and up. Linux, Power, Red Hat, SUSE, Ubuntu, it's all available also in the cloud. So I talked a little bit about it earlier, so the hardware replication. So the best solution is really disk-to-disk replication, because you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to have someone connected every day to look at the replication and make sure everything is in sync, and make sure you don't have any objects in error. So hardware replication is really good for that. Also, if you migrate into the cloud with your full environment, we can switch from your HA software replication to hardware replication. So it can save you a lot of money for your software maintenance, and you won't have any software maintenance to manage in the future. And Metro Mirror replication, it's always 100% sync, so there's no delay in the replication. So you're sure that if you have any failure of your production system, your HA machine is 100% sync, so that's really important. You can have also access to flash copy for fast backup. So that would be a manual operation. But if you need to do something really critical on your system and you don't want to run a multiple hour full backup of your machine, just call us. We can do a flash copy for you. That will take less than 5 minutes to do. And you can run your operation after that. And if you need to go back and restore the backup, that's also a 15, 20 minutes operation. So that's really fast. The only downside of hardware replication, the disk to disk, is that you don't have access to your target system. So the partition on the target site has to be completely powered off. But the switch over is also really fast. In less than 15 minutes, we can switch over to HA. It's the same IP address that will be switched over to the HA system. So you don't have to run multiple complicated switch scenarios to switch over. But you can, if you want, and you need access to your target system because you're doing, I don't know, you have some people connecting to it to do some read operation, or you want to run your backups on your HA and you really need a software replication with journaling, no problem. You can bring it with your environment into the cloud, and it will work exactly as it is working today in your on-premise infrastructure. Good thing about the cloud, you can have extra capacity anytime and really fast. So if you need more disk, you don't have to go through the ordering process and have them in 1, 2, 3 weeks, and then have a downtime on your system to install them. No, it's really fast. You just call us, and within 1 or 2 hours, you can have disk, CPU, and memory available for you on your system. Okay, so what's the impact of switching your on-prem environment into the cloud? Um, and what's the delay of having your environment running onto the cloud? Actually, it's really, really fast. So we can have an environment ready for you within few days. It depends on your telecom solution that you want to have between your site and the cloud. So if it's VPN, it's pretty fast. If it's an MPLS or a direct link connection, then we will probably have to wait for your provider to bring equipment and the link. So that's normally the delay. It's really on the telecom provider. But on our side, it's really, really fast. So there's a good chance that we'll be ready before the telecom link will be in place. So we have our own tool for the IBMI migration into the cloud. It's using software replication. So we can restore a backup, even if it's a backup from a year old, 6 months old, doesn't really matter. So we restore first your backup into the environment, and then we install a small tool into your production system on-prem, and we start software replication. So it will slowly catch up, and both systems will be sync. So you will be able to do testing before the switch over. So we can have this environment ready for you. So you can have few people connecting to it and to make sure that everything is working fine, that you don't have any impact. And then for the go live, it's less than an hour of downtime when we're doing the cutover. So it's pretty fast. And what is really important is you don't have to change anything in your application if you're coming into the cloud. It's completely transparent. The only thing that you will have to do is you will have to change the IP address of your server, but that's the only thing. So nothing to change in your application. But if it's impossible to change your IP address, we have solutions also for that. For that, we can do NATing. So it can work with NATing by keeping the same IP. And another thing that is really important, and it's not all the cloud provider that are providing access to your console, your partitions console. We are providing that for you day one. You will have a user and a password, and you will be able to access your console partition anytime. Fax solution, yes, fax solution. We still have that on the IBMI, and I still have a lot of customers using fax solution today. So we are 100% compatible with any fax solution on the market. I think we are the only the cloud service provider to have a 100% compatible solution with 5798 fax, which is the IBM native software running on the IBMI. We can do send and receive fax. It's a complete IP solution, so we don't have to order expensive analog line and pay a lot of money for long distance fees. So yeah, it's an IP solution, and we support. If you have 5798 fax, 100% supported, nothing to change on your side. And if you have any other fax solution on your IBMI, we will support it, no problem. And like Benoit said earlier, we have a tapeless solution in our cloud. It's an EMC data domain. So we don't manage tapes in our cloud environment. So a lot of good things about tapeless solution. So we don't have to manage the tapes, and we saw that with the COVID story, it was really complicated for customer to send someone on site to change the tapes every day because the offices were closed. So for us, no impact, tapeless solution. So the backups are done. It's the same thing as you're doing today. So a tape MLB on the IBM I, no change in VRMS, nothing. So exactly the same as today, but it's backing up to a disk solution. And as soon as your backup are completed, they are sent offsite automatically with replication. So you don't have to send a recall or Iron Mountain on site to take the tape and get them offsite. Another good thing, you always have access to all your backups, even if it's a monthly from 8 months old, you can access it. It's always available on your system, so you don't have to call Iron Mountain again or recall and have the tapes to come back and wait for them for a few hours. Like Benoit said, also we have LTO and Jaguar tapes available on the data center. They are mostly for restore, for special operation, and also for yearly backup that we can send you on tape. Okay, so about our call center and our NOC. So we have our own call center. It's owned by R2i, no offshore, no paging. We have bilingual technicians. They are ready to help you. We also have level 2 and level 3 technicians on call 24/7 if needed. And we have, also have a web portal that is available to open and manage your tickets. So the NOC, same location as the call center. We have technicians monitoring the status of the cloud 24/7. They are using real-time advanced monitoring tools. We can also monitor your IBM I environment. So we have some tools for that. So we can ask our NOC if anything happened on your system, even if it's application error. You can use our NOC to dispatch the error to your development team or your admin team at your location. So yeah, the NOC is there for that. I just wanna we don't we have multiple other platforms into our cloud, not just IBM I. And it's important to let you know that we have x86 environment, we have AIX environment available for you also, and we have Linux available. So we saw that in our cloud, sometime we have customer with a few VMs running Windows, and these VM need to be really close to the IBM I for latency. So you can bring some VM into our cloud, and it will be a fast 10 gigabyte Ethernet network between the IBM I and the VM. So yeah, we have an environment for that, so you can bring your x86 environment also. So now I'll talk more about our services at R2i. So what we can do, it's either for if you are in the cloud with us or if you are on-prem. So a lot of services that we can do to help you with your IBM I environment. So we can do hardware installation, planning for server storage. So everything related to the IBM I. So I'm talking about storage, VIOS, HMC, fiber channel switches. We can help you with Brocade and Cisco, no problem. We can do a software upgrade, PTFs, anything you need related to IBMI, we can do it, no problem. We can also help you with third-party software installation or upgrade. We can do that for you. System design, migration plan, everything that you need, even if it's an impossible project, call us. We'll do it for you. We have a lot of solution that we can do. We have a lot of experience also doing system migration. That's really one of our specialty. So we can do it and we can help you with this. So we can do detailed migration plan. Zoning can be complicated. So we can do zoning and planning with you. And we can help you with any support during migration that you're doing yourself or that we are doing for you. Power HA implementation. So Benoit talked about it earlier. We have a lot of experience with Power HA implementation, probably the most in North America. So we can do the installation and configuration of the product all the way A to Z. We can help you with that. It's really important, Power HA, to do the sizing correctly. There's a lot of things that you have to worry, LUN size, number of LUNs per physical part, stuff like that. So we can help you to do the sizing correctly for the optimal performance of the product. We can also have workshops to train your admin and your dev teams because when you're doing a migration to Power HA, you have some stuff to change in your application. So we can help you with that. And like for a system migration, we can help you all the way during the Power HA implementation. And even after the project is completed, we can help you also with support, no problem. So a lot of you are still using software replication today. But a lot of you are probably not testing it. You're not doing switches every year or every 6 months. Do you know if your HA system is in good condition? Do you know if you're replicating everything today? Do you know if you even can switch over to HA? So we can help you with that. So we can do a full analysis of your HA solution. We can probably reduce by a lot your failover window. So if it takes you 2-3 hours today, we can probably reduce that by a lot. We can also monitor your replication, make sure you don't have any objects in error and your replication is always sync. And we can assist you with periodic failover to your HA machine. Yeah, another issue we saw with IBMI. So the system is so stable that the clients have less and less system admins. So what we saw today is customer they have like one system admin or even less. Sometimes it's a programmer doing the admin job. And if you have only one sysadmin today, what happened when he's on vacation, sick leave, or whatever can happen, we can quickly take over. If something happened, if he's on vacation, if it's only a few days, so we can monitor your system, we can answer your question, we can receive alerts during that period. We can really support your system and your team. So do not hesitate to call us for this service so we can help. And if you want to document your system, schedule task of the admin, we can do that also, no problem. We can monitor your system 24/7. So we have some tools that we can install on your IBMI environment that will send alerts to our network operations center. So we can monitor your system performance, even jobs, application errors 24/7. And if something happened, the NOC can do some actions for you on your system, or they can even call the people, call your teams, dev teams, admin teams, if you want the call to be dispatched. We can do backup validation. Same thing if you're on-premise or in the cloud. We can do daily backup validation. So we're making sure that your backup strategy is good. We make sure that your daily backups will run correctly and without any error. We will make sure that you back up everything on your system, and we can retain all the logs for auditors. And we can also do another service that we're doing for a few customers. We're testing uh, periodically to make sure that the backups are good also, because a lot of clients are not testing their backups. So this is a good thing. And last thing on this page, critical situation manager. So if you have a complete crash of your data center or production system today, you don't have the resource in place to escalate and manage the PMR with IBM. We can send a resource on site to manage a critical situation and make sure things are moving with IBM. If you have hardware issue or software issue and you're in a critical situation, we can also at the end of the situation generate some reports to the management with the root cause and all technical explanation and generate the call to action. Okay, security is a trend today. I'm talking about security every day with customers for at least few months, for sure. So we have technicians very experimented with security at R2i, IBM iSecurity. So we have tools to run a complete validation of your system security. We can help you with auditors also. So we can do a security assessment with you prior to the audit. We can install a firewall to block unwanted communication on your IBM I partition. We can install real-time monitoring tools, and we can also automate some auditing report for the auditors. So if you just want to see what happened to my database out of your application, so we can automatically run some reports in PDF, and we can send them directly to the auditors. Um, so everything related to the auditors, we can help you with that. So we can ask you their question. We understand everything related to the IBMI, so we can help you with that, and we can even send people on site if you want to handle the question of the auditors. We have also some security tools available. So all object, SECAN, authority, it's really critical, and that's probably the first thing that the auditors are looking for on the system when they're doing report. So we have some tools to remove these rights to the people, and if they need it for a special operation, then they can go into a menu, escalate their rights, and do their thing. But everything is logged. We have the screenshot, we have the job log, we have everything. We can send that automatically to your ticket system to keep the job log and have them ready for the auditors. So yeah, we can help you with security for sure.
For that one, Fred, we also have a client that we've set up that basically twice a day, if a profile was created outside of what their standards are for the audit, the whole team is alerted immediately. Or
Yeah,
within.
that's correct, Tamara. So we have a bunch of tools. So dependent on your needs, that we can put in place and have some alerts for anything. Someone logged in with QSEC offer. You can receive alerts on the fly saying that someone from this IP connected with user QSEC offer. So any kind of security tools, we have them. And another thing that I'm really proud, it's we have a cloud backup as a service. So today, if you're running your IBM I on-prem and you're doing backups on tape, we have a cloud backup solution that we can offer for you. It's a tapeless solution. We can do any backups that you're running daily, weekly, monthly. It's fully integrated with BRMS. So whatever you're doing today, we can use the same exact control groups and definition in BRMS and send that by the internet into our cloud. And it's really secure. So it's encrypted locally on your system and it's compressed. And automatically, BRMS is sending the virtual tape over to the R2i cloud into a secure space for you. And you can do everything that you're doing today. So if you need to restore, you go into the BRMS menu and it will take care of going into the R2i cloud, retrieving your tapes that you need and restoring the object. And it's also doing when the tape expired, it's reclaiming the space in the cloud also. So it's doing everything that you're doing today, but sending the tapes into the cloud compared to doing it on physical tapes today and managing tapes. You can also do full system backups using that. So it's really a good solution. Yeah, so I think that's my last slide. So I will give the control to Tamara.
Yes, my name and I wanted to talk about some of the use cases or client case studies for various examples of people leveraging our services. So with respect to the cloud, I put up here 5 different kind of use cases of customers that we have. The first one is really the use cases for small customers, and we can take customers as small as 0.1 of a core for IBM, and suddenly they're going to have access to enterprise class solutions, such as the virtual tape library or the dark fiber synchronous replication. All of these are offerings that are enterprise class and that some of the smaller customers, such as a 0.1 core kind of customer, wouldn't normally have access to these technologies or things like the flash copy that Fred talked about. Another use case is we had a large client here in the Montreal area that really wanted to move towards Power 9, take advantage of the savings they were going to get for their growth and being able to stay with the same number of cores on the system. But they were stuck with this one small version, V6R1 partition that was stopping them from moving everything forward. So they did a hybrid cloud solution. We took their 6.1 and they were able to move on to Power 9 and take advantage of the cost savings that way. We have another client, and we actually have a few that are in this, that are like this, that are basically having their legacy application. They're moving on with a new ERP. They want their staff focused on the new ERP and in order to reduce their costs. They've given us the legacy applications, and I call that the rolling 5 years, where we can ride their legacy applications for as long as they need. Sometimes some of these applications are actually no longer active, but for audit purposes, they need to keep those systems around. Some of the ones in medical, for example, need to keep those access to those systems for quite a few years after. So we have a few clients in that category. We also have some clients actually in the cannabis area, and for them, they've got tight restrictions on where to move, how they can move those to the cloud, because they really want to ensure that their data resides in Canada. We have some other clients that have very tight security certifications, so they just can't move to any cloud. And again, those are where R2i can shine. We have others that the use case that they're offering software as a service to their clients, but we are the infrastructure as a service underneath their software offering. So they could really concentrate their efforts on their strengths, which is the application, and we'll and we use our strengths, which is on the hardware side. So if we talk about some of the use cases related to managed services, I'll give you 2, but there's a lot more. We have some very large enterprise class customers with it that have a relatively, which is very typical in IBM, relatively small admin team. And then really like to be able to offload their staff the nights, the weekends, so when they go on vacations. So they've given the management of the servers over to us, and they're more like the level 2, level 3, if you will, and they can now go off and don't have to be 24-hour. Their team was getting burnt out, having to do work always on the weekends and through the holidays. So we've offloaded this fairly large client for that purpose. We also have extremely small customers where they have one admin or not even actually a full admin, and we're the ones that will go on and verify the daily backups and take the proof for the auditors to make sure that everything was done clearly. So from very small to very large to very small, we've had people leveraging our managed service, which I like to refer to our services a la carte, so you can take whatever pieces that were appropriate for your business. So use cases around the services. We have the planned and unplanned staff replacement, and we do actually have a situation in the US where unfortunately there one admin who knew everything and hadn't documented very much, got killed actually in a motorcycle accident. So at a very short notice, we were able to jump in, documented the full server, looked at what the scheduled services that were going on, and were able to pass that over so that when they were able to rehire a new admin, they could hit the ground running. Fred had also talked about the critical situation support. We've had a few situations like that. These were not actually our clients at the time, but they called us because they knew, someone knew us who knew us, and we came in at 11 o'clock at night and basically stayed with them throughout the nights for 7 days until everything was back up. And we wrote the postmortem and made sure that all of the issues that led to that, because it's never just one issue, it's always multiple issues. So the whole set of multiple issues that have happened would never happen again. And they are now, needless to say, among our largest clients after we've gone through the type of an experience with them. Fred also talked a lot about security audits. We've done quite a few. We've done also that we're actually meeting face-to-face with the auditors. And in one of the larger clients, we assisted them with putting templates together for each of the different requirements. And actually the auditors loved it, so that we put a template so that we would go through and we actually put the text to say explaining, what are the points that we were proving at this point. And then we were doing cut and pasting of all of the the print screens as we went along to do the proof. And the auditors liked it because typically the auditors don't know much about IBM. So we would give them a little quick summary at the top to say, this is the point that we're addressing, this is why we're proving it, and then we would just cut and paste the slides in. So from then on, those audits actually saved the customer a lot of money, because those audits, the auditors in that case is usually on site quite actively for 2 to 3 months. And we were able to actually decrease the amount of time that we were spending, and therefore money they were spending on the auditors, by really streamlining that process and giving the proof and answering exactly their point they wanted, and not more, of course. And we do quite a few, or I do quite a few performance analysis. And that could be right sizing. It could be, maybe you have too much resources for moving your resources to the right place, or helping customer with all of a sudden there's a performance issue, and we can jump in quite quickly and assist with them to say what the resolution is going to be and which actually was the cause. So now I'll move on to a few actual examples that I have. And this is an example of what we could do for a capacity planning service. So there's various ways of skinning the cat, if you will, and way of looking at the issue. So this is, I've done a large Excel, and this is different views. So on the top one, I could do a view by workload. So if you look under application, it shows B is the name of the application. I can see I have a production, an HA, a development, and then I have the 2 backups. I can also see this is using Power HA. And in this particular, and then I talked about the cores that are required. I always look at what they currently have. I then look at what I think they really should have. So in this case, the production had 9 cores, but based on what they were doing, they were really should have been positioned at 15. And then I would say, okay, if this is a P8 today, what would that look like if it was a P9? So here it went from 15 cores to 11.19 cores. And then we'll talk about the projected growth in the next few years. and then I look at the memory. So it's all the details that you could look at, but it's fairly, once you do put the filters on, it's really quick. It allows you to know where you're going to go. And in this case, it was because we had the current server and current location, but I also had the final server and final location because the various partitions were moving amongst the 3 sites. So it was actually quite complex. So we could do a bunch of what if using the filters. On the bottom as well, this was a particular view because I had put the information on the HA. It was easy to say which of the partitions have no HA today. And on this example, we could see that they actually had 3 production servers that had no HA today. And it was easy for the management to see and spot those conditions. So I'll show you the next chart, which is why I showed you the other one first was because the actual Excel is quite large, and it doesn't even show all of the columns that actually exist in there. But it was to show you that the devil really is in the details. And if you don't look at, and this is also looking at the firmware, the VIOS sizings, all of that information is here so that as we're moving partitions from one server to another, we can see the impact. And it also puts the hypothesis, there's a little table on the bottom, and I show exactly how I did the sizing, and you can change those numbers. So SMT, the simultaneous multi-threading, not all applications are going to take advantage of it. So in this case, I put actually a 20% degradation of the actual CPW moving forward, just to be safe. But on some, if it's like an SAP application, actually I don't put any because it really uses, I'll leave it at straight CPW sizing. Depending on the application, you have to keep those things in mind. And what's not included here, which I said there was a lot more to the Excel, is the disks, the LUN sizing, both for independent ASP and sys-based. I've seen so many clients coming from that were not our clients at the time, moving to Power HA and seriously undersizing the number of physical disks in their external storage because they hadn't properly planned for what they actually needed for the sys-based. So those are some of the, like I mentioned, devils in the details. So this one was quite complex. It was many partitions, many different levels of OS, different sites, and we were moving the partitions around and improving the HA on this particular situation. So I'll show you next on the next one, which is some examples on performance analysis. So this is an example. It's something that we can do for you, and this is a look, and this is actual customer data. This is a large client here again in Montreal. And this shows me the components of what I call the overall system response time. Overall, from midnight to midnight, where is my system spending its time so that if I have a performance problem, where would I go and try to fix it? And in this case, the red block that we see here, which is where the system's spending most of its time, it was actually queuing for the core. And the blue in the line at the bottom is the actual time spent in the core. So you can see that the system clearly doesn't have enough cores. And by simply adding cores to this partition, the performance is going to be, tenfold improved by simply adding cores to this partition. And there's a lot of performance problems that people throw cores at, and it's in fact not the cores. So this type of analysis is going to tell me where your system is spending its time today, and how best to spend that money in order to fix your problem if you have. A well-kept secret is there's some 32 of these weight buckets, that's what each of these are, that are available. It could be system locks, it could be gating on OS code. We're going to see all of that in this type of a graph that's depicted for a system over a 24-hour period. And it's a simple query against a file, and I put this file there. If you're ever interested in know how to do this, I'd be more than happy to show you. So we'll go on to another example of another question I get on the next slide. Another question I get quite a bit is about batch runtime performance. So the slide on the left shows you 3 different runtimes of the same job, and they'll say, why did it take 4 times to running on that March 22nd date versus the other 2 days that it run? And I could see that it, again, it's these weight buckets that I could see it was spending predominant most of its time gating, and that's a whole other conversation, but we were able to address the issue. The other one was on disk faulting, which is actually the number of faults this application did times by the response time of the disks. So those type of issues can be fixed two ways: either decrease the number of disk faulting, either by putting the right indexes in place or looking at the application, or improving the disk response time. Those are two ways that you can go after that kind of disk faulting bucket. On the right-hand side, I could actually see the runtime behavior of the job over time. So each of these little numbers at the bottom, the 1, 2, 3, shows a 15-minute interval, and I can actually see the behavior of the job as it's running. And when we start to have the disk faulting problem is probably an hour and a half into the running of the job, it starts falling into this disk faulting and that disk other. This is not the same jobs from the one on the left, but this is an example of a batch kind of runtime analysis that we'll look at. We can go to the next slide and I'll show you a bit the methodology. So the methodology is that the number one thing is to understand what the impact of the business is. What's the problem we're trying to fix? And after that, I'll leverage whatever tools that's available to me at the time. And if it comes in from a quick phone call and I don't have access to the system, I could say to the customers, run these work disk status or those 3 commands at the top. A lot of people don't leverage the work sys act command. Everybody has it. And if you do that command, you can actually go in and have a look at those weight buckets. And I could step you through that process and show you how to do that. I'll query the performance data directly, which is how I created those graphs that you see on the other slide. I could use the performance reports. Sometimes that's all I'm sent. And on the right-hand side, the 8-day view over 24 hours, it was actually just from performance reports. I moved it into text and from text into Excel and was able to take 8 different days of the IOs per second and put it onto one graph. So I could clearly see what my peaks for IOs were and if the behavior changed on the weekends or as you size for the peaks. And not all IOs are the same, so sometimes you have to, even though these are the IO rates, I have to also take into account when my reads, writes, and the size of the IOs. I put a star next to the Performance Data Investigator tool because everybody has it and very few people know about it. And it's a great tool that can actually also do the graphs for you automatically for those weight buckets. So if you want to learn how to do that, I'd be happy to explain that as well. Performance Navigator is a tool that you see at the top on that graph on the right-hand side, and that's very classic. I don't know how many calls I get. I changed nothing. And I don't know if you guys, as a customer, have heard that before. I constantly hear, we've changed nothing, and suddenly the performance is awful. And this Performance Navigator tool does an amazing job on looking at the stats over time. So each of those lines is actually a day. And you can clearly see that on this particular customer that on December 9th, they clearly changed something. And it was able to actually drill down to the day and say, you changed that at 2 in the afternoon. And then they're like, oh, that little change. Okay. And on that graph, you can see on the right-hand side that suddenly the system portion, the yellow block, jumped up tremendously. And we were able to drill down and find out that the problem was related to something they put in production at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on that particular day. So this they're all different ways to go about looking at the problem. A lot of problems I'll actually see are related to the database, if I've seen a high faulting rates, and we're going to go have a look if there's any indexes missing and using tools such as the Plan Cache or Index Advisor. For very detailed ones, we'll go down and use something like PACS. We had a large bank wanting to actually do a rollout throughout Canada, and we're seizing so badly. So they said, there's no way you can go live with this application this way it's written. And we were able to use PACS, pinpoint the line of code, make the appropriate changes in a period of 2 to 3 weeks, and they were able to do the rollout without any impact to the system. So these are some examples. We can go on to the next slide. And so those were examples of some of the services you can do. So services are available to you whether you're in our cloud or not. It also gives you an example of the capacity and the planning and sizing that we can do as you move into our cloud, so that we make sure we get those numbers right as you move over, and that you're going to be delighted with the performance as you come over. And in conclusion, we'll go to the next slide. It really is, whether you're using our cloud, our managed services, or the services available a la carte, it's about you spending more time on your business and what's most important to you, and you can leverage us for the tried and tested migration processes. You'll get a simplified financial planning because of the OpEx model of the cloud. And more important, you have access to a pool of technology professionals as an extension to your team and to help with education of your team so your team could do their job better. In IBMI world, quite frankly, because the system is so integrated, the good news is there's not a lot of admins around it, but the bad news is you don't have a lot of admins around them. So you don't, as you usually have easy access to them, and they won't necessarily, because the team's not large, they don't get a chance to go in and learn any of the pieces in depth as they would like to. So we could be an extension of your team and help them with that piece. And more important, as a very important consideration, as we talked about before, is you can get improved availability. And if you're a very small client and you'd like to access enterprise type availability with synchronous replications and not worry about it, and you could be as small as 0.1 of a core, you can come over to into our cloud and take advantage of all those. So go to the next slide. I'd like you to stay tuned. To our webinar site. I've been doing quite a few webinars lately with various of our partners. Next week we're doing one. This one's in French with SAP HANA running on Power, and again, that's a solution that's available to you in the R2i cloud. And I just like to pay attention as well that we have a blog that I've just started, and it's really called IBMI Best Kept Secrets. And I'll be publishing them approximately once a month and be leveraging various people from our teams to talk about one little interesting point that I think people are unaware of, never knew have these tools. They're free, and I want to show them how they can access them. The first one that I wrote was about removing any unused indexes off your system. I had a large client that had probably 200 gigabyte of indexes on their system, indexes they virtually never used. Those indexes were being involved in their day-to-day being backed off the system, were being maintained during the updates, and just removing them freed up significant resources and actually decreased their backup window. So I show you how to do that on that particular blog. And if you have any good ideas that you'd like me to write about, I'd love you to send them in, and so that I can write about some of those well-kept secrets you might know about. So go to the next slide. So really, if you have any questions or comments, we'd love to hear from you. If you're interested in a quote to come into our cloud, we can set that up. It's a process that's extremely quick for us. We've done lots and lots of them. And if there were any questions at this time, I'd like to hear if there's any questions at all. I don't see any in the Q&A area. So maybe I'll ask some questions myself, because I have a few that, and I did mention it, but I'd like to maybe talk to Benoit. You want to comment on what the smallest partition is? We talked about 0.1 core, but what's the smallest they can come in terms of disk space, etc.?
Yeah, thank you, Tamara. Good question. Yeah, we can host very, very small partition. We can start at 0.1 of a CPU and 200 gigs of disk, for example. Yes, a very, very small customer can afford move to the cloud for IBMI, and even AIX is the same. So very, very small, up to very, very large enterprise also. The largest customer that we have right now is an AIX customer, and they have 96 cores available for the AIX environment. And IBMI, for example, our largest IBMI customer is around 20 cores. So we have lots of small and large enterprise customers.
Thank you. And Benoit, more and more questions I'm getting this, and we're doing this one in English specifically because we like to continue to extend our people's awareness of us within Canada and the US. Do you have any plans right now for Ontario? And another question I get quite about is, what about three-way replication? So it's sort of like, I guess, the same question in a way.
Thank you. Yes, we plan to open office in Toronto within the next few months, and then also maybe before that having a third location for a data center in Toronto area also. So it will allow customer to be connected on a larger, for example, HA situation. But we already have many customer from outside Quebec. We have a customer in BC, in Ontario, Toronto, and Ottawa, also in Ontario. Sorry. So even as of today, we can serve Canadian customer across the country. So not only one located in Quebec. Telco is very good on that side, and but Toronto will be an addition to our offering for long distance replication.
Perfect. Thanks, Benoit. And Fred, did you have any other questions that you thought that are common questions or that you see that your customer group is asking?
Yeah, thanks, Tamara. I think one thing I didn't cover is the switchover process in the cloud with Metro Mirror replication. So basically, the process to switch over, it's all handled by R2i. So the process will make sure that the source partition is powered off. We'll send a command to the storage to reverse replication. So it's still Metro replication, but it will be reversed. And it's the power on the IPL of the target partition. So that's basically the switchover process. So that's why we're saying it's less than 15 minutes, because normally we can, today, even if it's not normal IPL, we can IPL a partition within 10 minutes.
But I imagine if we have an outage in one site, the process is that you contact the client first and then say, do you want us to proceed with the switch over, or do we do the switch? I guess it depends on what we have as an understanding with that client.
Yeah, that's correct. It's different than it's a different world, IBMI, because everything that we're running on the IBMI third-party software, it's really related to the server serial number. So if we have to switch over, sometimes the client needs to stay in restricted state and add some license keys for his third-party software. Make sure they're working on the target system. So yeah, we call the customer to let him know. It never happened yet in the cloud, a crash, but yeah, we'll contact the customer for sure and make sure that he's aware that we need to switch over to HA.
And I assume the reason we've not experienced any outages either on the storage or on the servers is because of the extreme redundancy across multiple different levels of the setup and the architecture.
Yeah, that's correct. And also the maintenance that we're doing periodically, we have a scheduled maintenance for all the equipment that we're doing on a regular basis. So we make sure that we're not running on old version of firmware. So that's why our environment is so stable. And like I said before, our SLA are 99.99. So yeah, pretty stable.
Perfect. Thank you. So I don't think I have any more questions. Would like to thank everybody for having joined us, and would really like to hear from you on feedback on this presentation. If there was more details we should have provided in one area, if you have any questions, or as I mentioned, if you'd like a quote, please reach out to us at info@r2i.ca, and you can reach out to any of us. So thank you very much, and with this we conclude the webinar. Thanks, Benoit, and thanks, Fred.